Magandang araw sa inyong lahat and welcome to our 5th pre-recorded lecture for the subject Clinical Practicum 101B. I am Dr. Jeffrey Reboron and welcome to the introduction of the 4th stage of labor. Before we begin, I would like to orient you about the different learning objectives on our second module. We will identify and recognize the normal and abnormal vital signs of the mother in the postpartum period. You will also demonstrate competent physical assessment skills of a mother in puerperium so that you will immediately determine the abnormal and normal changes during the postpartum period. I will help you identify the different physiologic and anatomical adjustments of the mother during puerperium, and identify and recognize the different psychological changes in the mother in the postpartum period. More so, you will also learn how to identify the different midwifery care and management for bowel and bladder, and demonstrate competence in planning the discharge of the mother in the postpartum period. And lastly, I will teach you how to identify schedules for the mother for her postpartum checkup. Before we proceed any further with our discussion, let us first define what postpartum period is. Now, postpartum is also known as the stage of puerperium, and it comes from the Latin word puer, which means child, and parere, or to bring forth. So this simply means that in the postpartum period, it is to bring forth a child. This phase begins after the delivery of the placenta and up to the first 6 weeks after delivery. And the tone of the uterus is reestablished as the uterus contracts again, expelling any remaining content. So what is your main takeaway when we say postpartum period? It is the return of the mother's body from pregnant state to pre-pregnant state. And this time, we will not only be focusing our care on the newly delivered mother, but we will also be taking care of the newborn. The contractions that occur during the 4th stage of labor are hastened by breastfeeding, which stimulates the production of the hormone oxytocin. Always remember that when the nipples are stimulated, there is a release of the hormone oxytocin, which will thereby affect the smooth muscles in the body, particularly the uterus. And when the oxytocin goes to the uterus, it stimulates it to contract, thereby preventing bleeding and also helping the uterus involute or return to its pre-pregnant state. It is in this period of adjustment after delivery when the anatomic and physiologic changes of pregnancy are reversed, meaning yung mga dating size and appearance ng mga body organs ng nanay ay magsisimula ng bumalik sa kanilang pre-pregnant state. And the body now returns to normal and non-pregnant state because the mother is not anymore pregnant after the delivery of the baby. In the postpartum period, it is subdivided into 3 phases, each occurring at a different but predicted time frame. And what are these phases in postpartum period? Number 1 is what we call acute or immediate postpartum. At kailan siya nagaganap? It involves the first 6 to 12 hours of postpartum period. So, ibig sabihin, kapapanganak ng mother na deliver si placenta, that is the start of acute or immediate postpartum period up to the first 12 hours of postpartum. Now, this is the time of rapid change wherein the mother is exposed to potential immediate complications. Ang ibig sabihin nito, in the acute or immediate postpartum period, napakadelikado ng estado ng buhay ng nanay. Why? Because the mother is exposed to potentially life-threatening conditions such as postpartum hemorrhage, uterine inversion, amniotic fluid embolism, and even eclampsia. So napakadelikado po ng first 12 hours after manganak ng nanay. The mother's exhaustion is also at its peak. Remember that the mother has been tired of pushing down or bearing down. Napagod po siyang manganak. And the mother may not easily point out her health condition because of tiredness. Maaaring yung nanay sa sobrang pagod na niya, hindi na niya namamalayan na marami nang lumalabas na dugo from her vagina. And the mother might not report the condition to any healthcare provider. Bakit? Kasi sobrang pagod na siya at gusto na lang niyang matulog. So exhaustion may also present as a problem in the immediate complications, in the recognition of the immediate complications on the acute postpartum period. So, what should we do? Midwives should monitor, record, and observe the vital signs of the mother. Always remember that for the first 2 hours of delivery, we have to check the mother's vital signs every 15 minutes. After the second hour, magche-check na po tayo ng vital signs every after 30 minutes. And then for the succeeding hours po, every hour na. So you have to monitor, record, and observe the vital signs of the mother because the mother during this time is potentially exposed to complications. The second phase in the postpartum period is what we call the subacute postpartum phase. So this starts on the second day after delivery and it lasts up to the 6th week of postpartum. Always remember that during this time, the body is undergoing major changes in terms of hemodynamics. So when we say the circulating blood of the mother, dati-dati, umakyat yung kanyang circulating blood volume dahil sa presence ng fetus. This time, the circulating blood will return to its normal values, things like that. We will also see the changes in the genitourinary system of the mother. Also, the metabolic and emotional status of the mother will also revert to normal. Now, in this subacute postpartum period, it includes the period of time which is required for the involution of the genital organs and return of the menses or menstruation. Always remember that during the second day to the 6th week of postpartum, the body will start to involute or return to its pre-pregnant state. So yung tiyan na lumaki, yung uterus na nag-stretch, yung vagina na nag-discolor, yung cloasma or yung discoloration sa face na lumabas, they will all revert to its normal pre-pregnant state sa subacute phase na ito. So from the second day up to the 6th weeks of postpartum, there will be involution of not just the genital organs but basically majority of the bodily changes that occurred during pregnancy. Now, in this phase of the postpartum period, the changes are less rapid than in the acute postpartum. However, the mother can already self-identify the problems. Unlike yung kanina sa immediate postpartum period na si mother she's too exhausted or she's too tired to even recognize that she's already experiencing bleeding or lightheadedness at gusto na lang niyang matulog or magpahinga. Dito po sa subacute phase, the mother can already self-identify the problems. For example, you may hear the mother say, "Sir, bakit yung uterus ko parang hindi pa siya bumabalik sa dati?" Or bakit yung mga pigmentation ko sa mukha, bakit parang hindi pa umaalis or natatanggal? So, those are the self-identifying measures na ginagawa ng nanay na napapansin natin in the subacute postpartum period. We also have the last phase of the postpartum period, which we call the remote postpartum. It happens approximately 6 weeks after delivery and up to 6 months postpartum. Now, physiologic changes that occur during this phase are extremely gradual. Ibig sabihin, yung mga pagbabago pong makikita natin sa organs ng mother is very slow or pakonti-konti na lang po yung changes during this remote postpartum period. Always remember that pathology and obstetrical problems are already very rare. Kung kanina po sa acute and subacute, may mga makikita tayong mga medical and pathologic emergencies or problems. Dito po sa remote postpartum period, hindi na po gaanong marami ang magiging health problems ng nanay which are related to her pregnancy and delivery. This is the time of restoration of the muscle tone and the connective tissues of the mother's body in their pre-pregnant state. Although masasabi natin na subtle or unnoticeable lang yung changes during this phase, it is always important for us midwives to remember that a woman's body is not fully restored to its pre-pregnant state or physiology until 6 months post-delivery. Ang ibig lang sabihin nito is lagi nating tatandaan na yung mga mother, yung katawan ng mga nanay ay hindi talaga bumabalik sa dating condition nila pre-pregnancy or bago sila mabuntis up until 6 months postpartum. Now, we have two classifications of physiologic and psychological changes during the postpartum period. So dito kasi sa postpartum period natin, maraming mga pagbabago ang nagaganap. So yung mga dating itsura ng katawan ng nanay, dating mga anatomical appearance ng bodily organs ng nanay, bumabalik na sa dati. Now, what are these types of changes? Number one is what we call retrogressive changes, coming from the word retro or palikod. Okay? These are bodily changes that occur when the body part reverts back to its pre-pregnant state. And this is also what we call involution, or sa pagbalik sa dating itsura, pagbalik sa dating posisyon, pagbalik sa dating size. Involution po ang tawag natin sa term na yon. Now, both uterus and the vagina will return to their pre-pregnant state after delivery. Always remember po na during pregnancy, yung uterus po nasi-stretch out. Yung vagina lumalaki. But when we say involution of the uterus or involution of the vagina, yung uterus po magko-contract yan, mag-i-involute, liliit, babalik sa dating itsura. Even the vagina of the mother, na dati nagko-color black or violet na and medyo lumalaki or umuumbok, the vagina will also return to its normal size, appearance, and position. Next, the uterus goes back to its normal original size and position. The vagina can also return to its original shape and size and color. And the mother's vital signs and other bodily functions also return to normal. Hindi na siguro bago sa inyo kung makarinig kayo ng mga pasyenteng nagsasabing, "Sir, alam niyo po ba nagkaroon ako ng high blood nung ako ay nabuntis?" And that's normal. Pwedeng magkaroon talaga ng high blood yung mga pasyente natin pag sila ay nabubuntis. Pero pagkatapos nilang manganak, their blood pressure will return to normal. So yan yung ibig sabihin nito. The mother's vital signs and other bodily functions will also return to normal. And also the mother's edema or yung pamamanas ng nanay will also disappear. Those are retrogressive changes. Ulitin natin ha. Pag sinabi nating retrogressive changes, it means pagbalik ng katawan sa dati niyang anyo. We also have what we call progressive changes, and these are changes that prepares the mother for child rearing and parenthood. Kung kanina po is yung retrogressive changes po ay pagbalik ng mga different parts of the body into their pre-pregnant state, dito naman sa progressive changes ay ang pag-change or pag-iba ng katawan ng nanay in preparation for motherhood. Take for example, yung suso ng nanay or the mother's breast. It will not return to its original size. It will not return to its original function. Pero, mag-iiba pa rin siya. But it will change in preparation for lactation. So yung suso ng nanay, imbes na babalik siya sa dating size, mas lalo pa siyang lalaki. Because the mother's breast will already start producing milk for lactation. Aside from that, restoration of a normal menstrual cycle will also occur as a progressive changes. And lastly, the beginning of a parental role. So yung nanay po, yung utak niya or the way she thinks will not return to her being single. Instead, magsistart na siyang isipin na meron na siyang sariling pamilya. So that is already a progressive change that we see in the mother in puerperium. Now, I will have an assessment for you, and this will be passed on your EDMODO. I want you to review your notes on obstetrics and gynecology and enumerate the different body organs or systems that have undergone change during pregnancy. Kunwari, maghanap kayo ng mga organs sa katawan ng nanay na nag-iba from pre-pregnant to pregnant. Example, yung suso ng nanay or the breast. During pregnancy, kunwari, hindi ka pa buntis, diba? Or hindi pa buntis si nanay, maliit lang yung kanyang suso. But, after niyang mabuntis or during pregnancy, the breast of the pregnant woman increases in size. It becomes more tender. Pag nasasagi, masakit. And the areolas become more enlarged. The lactiferous tubules also become more active in preparation for breast milk generation. So, yun yung mga gusto kong gawin nyo. I want you to look for these organs or systems in the body and then briefly explain the changes that they have undergone during pregnancy. And please write at least 5 organs or systems and their changes. And that concludes our pre-recorded lecture on the introduction of the postpartum period. I hope you enjoyed the class as much as I did. Maraming salamat for listening, and remember to submit your assignments on time. As always, keep safe, God bless, and stay alive.